You are watching Co-op for Two, broadcasting live from Champaign, Illinois, Friday, July 8th, 2022 at around 11 p.m. I'm sorry the stream started a little late. I completely forgot how to use YouTube. When I stream, there's two parts to it. First, I start streaming to YouTube and then I click go live, and I completely forgot that second step. All right, so what are we doing today? We are revisiting for the last time Dave Neal's Baker Street Irregulars box, Sherlock Holmes Baker Street Irregulars box. We finished case 10 last week, but there's something a little more in the box. Now, here's our big spoiler. If you haven't played this game yourself yet, you should stop watching. This is not like a wrap-up review or discussion. This is sort of something else that the game has in store. So if you haven't played this game yet and you plan to play it, you have to exit off-ramp right now. So I'll give you a moment to do that while we check in with the chat. And it says, I read Neil Gaiman's short story, A Study in Emerald, yesterday. Yeah, I know they made a board game of A Study in Emerald that has some lukewarm reception and looks a little messy, but I don't know the story. It sounds interesting. Anna recommends it. All right, so let's talk now about what our plan is for today. I've given the spoilers. Everyone has left who intends to play this game. At some point while we were playing one of these cases, Anna noticed something interesting. It looked like a typo to me. One of the entries in one of the cases, and here I've got them all aside with the newspaper for each one. This is the last case that we did last week, case 10, an epic case. And I noticed that one of the entries had a little period after the address. So remember, all the addresses have a number and a neighborhood. And you can see this entry has a dot. Yes, we're going to start with the telegram. I'm just going to point out that Anna noticed this a couple cases ago, and it looked like a typo. Let's get a little close-up on it, a little dot. But then we found one in another case, and it looked like there's a pattern there. So we're going to start with the end of case 10 and what led us to realize that there's another little mystery here. Anna actually heard that there was another mystery from the host of Gaming Rules, Paul, what's his last name? Grogan? He has a vlog or a podcast, and he mentioned that there's a possible case 11. So, when we finished case 10, which was a pretty epic finale, in addition to solving the case, we finished the case, tells you to turn over the book, read the solution. Oh, I had it right. Okay, so we read the solution, we got our ending, and then we are told that one guy got away, Ricardo Perez. But we're told his girlfriend, who was the waitress, was a little odd that she was his girlfriend. And then we're led to believe that there's a connection. We know who she was. And the last thing that this case says is, do you understand who Emily Valley is? Emily Valley. Well, we did know who Emily Valley is. Emily Valley is the woman detective in case 5. And you can see case 5, Red River Valley, starts with a telegram. And Emily's not her real name. I forget what her real name is. Anna can remind me. So it was kind of a nice epilogue that we realized, oh, okay, Emily has infiltrated this deadly gang and she is going to bring Ricardo Perez to justice. That's a fun ending. But it doesn't quite end there. Let me just get these back in order. It doesn't quite end there because we noticed at the back of this book of case 10 is an envelope. Normally these would be the answers. Here it's a telegram. Dave Neal, the author of this box, says most players don't even notice that there's a telegram here. So here's the telegram. We actually looked at this in case 10. And the first thing that jumped out at us is this circled R. Now we spent many hours when we played case 10 trying to find where you would circle the R, where we would get the R, because Lestrade, when you visit him, says if you have a circled R, read this. We never found that circled R. We agonized over it. And the first thing that jumped out to us when we saw this telegram is the circled R. When we went back to Lestrade in the case 10 booklet, Lestrade is at 13 Southwest. It says if you have a circled R, go to 221 Southwest. So we went to 221 Southwest, and sure enough, 221 Southwest has a little cryptic entry, but more importantly, it has a little star after the Southwest dot. Okay, it says, hello, Inspector, says Wiggins. What have you been investigating since the gang were captured? It's been remarkably quiet, Wiggins, Lestrade replies, although Mr. Holmes was in here earlier murmuring about a series of suspicious deaths spanning several years. But it sounded like nonsense to me. Okay, suspicious deaths spanning several years. So what the conclusion of all this is that there's a hidden little case, a mystery, in these case books, denoted by the entries with periods, and probably maybe having to do with the newspaper. So let's return to the telegraph and see what else there is to be found here. Anna has already made some guesses. If you look at the telegram, there's a couple. What else do we see? John Watson. Gregson arrived, then tracked Moriarty. Fleeing Sherlock Holmes, the devil eventually ran back, chastened, disaster prevented. Okay. So it's a little bit about Moriarty. All right, now we see something here. This March 3rd is underlined. The 3 is underlined. What's the significance of that? Well, it sounds like Anna already has a theory that maybe it's saying every third word, every third letter, something like that. That's a pretty interesting guess. So, what are we going to do now for today? We are going to start at the beginning at case 1. We're going to find all of these paragraphs with the little dots. I think the first thing we'll do is we'll just screenshot each of them so that I can print them all out on one piece of paper, on a couple pieces of paper, so we don't have to keep going through the books to find what's written in each of those. I suspect they're going to tie into the newspaper, so we'll want to go through the newspapers. And then we'll see what we can make of it. There is no answer section for this mystery, so it's going to have to be self-explanatory. Anna says, I don't think we should read the paragraph. Anna thinks it's not related. Anna, you're saying you don't think it's related to the text of the paragraphs. I'm not sure about that, because we saw a couple paragraphs that seemed to be talking about stuff that felt a little mysterious. Like we went into some guy's office, he had a picture of someone on the wall. So I'm not so sure about that, but I do take Anna's suggestion about this underline 3 pretty serious. It very well could mean that we find the third word of each thing. But I'd like to sort of look at them and screenshot them first. Jonathan says, don't read until we have a reason. I see. So it sounds like Anna and Jonathan think that we're not meant to just find all the dotted entries. That does not make sense to me. To me, they seem like the first thing we should do is identify and read all the dotted entries. But I'm willing to go with Anna and Jonathan first and see if there's a way to backtrack. Maybe they're right. All right, so we're not going to do what I said we were going to do. We're going to entertain Jonathan and Anna's idea by spending a little bit of time in case 10 with this and this and seeing if it'll bring us to a previous dotted entry. Now notice we can't put a marker on the board for 221 Southwest. It doesn't exist. But we got here from visiting Lestrade. It's suspicious deaths spanning several years. I assume these are going to be deaths mentioned in the paper. Okay, so Jonathan Anna said, first try to decipher the telegram. You really think the telegram can be deciphered? Anna says, let's first try to decipher the telegram and take a thinking break. I think we should start with the newspaper. Okay, so let's get out the newspaper from case 10. I'll put it on the table here so we can see it. I don't know how to do this. I'm going to have to go with this view. That's the best I can do, but I don't know if you can read it. The third, is it the third section? Third section, third word would be 6. But Edward Stand was a person in our case. He did die. Seems pretty underdetermined, though, to me. All right, Anna said, take a thinking break. All right, I'm going to put the thinking break on while we all consider this. I may talk over it, but you guys, I'll pay attention to the chat. You can tell me if you want me to show something close up. So looking at the telegram, what else is here? The devil eventually ran back, chastened, disaster prevented. The only thing that really jumps out to me about this is the underlined third. I'm looking at other marks that might be on this telegram. If we looked at every third word here, we might be 1, 2, Gregson, tract, Sherlock, devil, back, prevented. Doesn't really help us. I do think that third is significant. I just don't know. What did we write here? 3 R's. Oh, 3 R's. That was our one theory. I don't think that's very helpful, to be honest. Let me do a close-up on the paper while I look through it. If we look at deaths that could be suspicious, remember the first entry here, this, I think, gives us the big clue about what this mysterious case, bonus case 11 is. It's a series of suspicious deaths spanning several years. We could look at the third word of each of these. That would be says what you since were. I don't think so. Anyway, suspicious deaths spanning several years. I was thinking we would start at the first paper and find the suspicious deaths corresponding to the dotted entries, but and we don't know if it is jumping around. We could go backwards. If you look at deaths in the paper, we've got this guy, Edward William Stan. He was in our case and died. Then we've got a 72-year-old woman who died. We don't know anything about her, but we do have an address. Mary Agnes, 82-year-old. Nothing surprising about her dying. No address, although I guess we could try to look them up. Dr. Richards in his 46th year of life. That's a bit suspicious. If Anna and Jonathan were correct that the game is going to point us to each entry and not just collect them all in the different books, what would we expect? We would expect that it has to tell us what case number and then a full neighborhood, right? So, although this one's a little unusual because this one was 221 Southwest. I will note also that actually this S looks bold and actually this W looks bold. What do you think of that? Maybe you have a point there about it giving us address. That S looks bolded. Does this W look bolded? I'm not sure. But if it is, then 221 Southwest. Is that W bolded? Tiny bit. Not much, but that S does look like it's double struck bolded. W not so much. Either way, that just sends us to the one clue we already read here, which I am actually going to screenshot it. Anna says she thinks she's got it. Let me just... All right. Anna says she thinks she's got it, but she's going to keep it private for a couple minutes. If I return to the paper and just look at more deaths that might be suspicious related to us, we've got the builder that was killed in the fall. We were never able to track them down. And we've got a couple of interesting things in the papers that we never made sense of it. They don't look related to our case. But here's an entry. I'll be coming to Four Oaks. I do remember one of our mystery entries was a doctor's house where we saw on the wall a picture of someone. Dr. Richards dies pretty early. 46 years old. And it says, should I give a hint? Sure. If we take the third letter of each word, we've got T, H, E, R, E, A, R. That sounds like it could be something. I wonder if that's the hint that Anna's going to give us. Third letter of each word is T, H, E, R, E, A, R, E. There are E, L, E, V, E, 11. Okay, well, that's definitely it. C, A, S, E, S. There are 11 cases. Okay. All right. So this was Anna's original hypothesis, that third letter, third word, whatever. Okay, so if you take the third letter of each word, T, H, E, R, E, there are, I guess I should undo that. There are E, and then it's 11 cases. Okay, now this is just a teaser that there's another case here. I think case, it's got to be used in the loosest of sense. All right. So third letter of each word gives us there are 11 cases. So this is where the music would be. Dum, dum, dum. Okay. So we've made sense of this telegraph now. I think we're basically done with this telegraph. And I think now we're back to where I started, which is I think we've just got to go pick out those dotted entries and look for how they, I think what's going to happen is we're going to combine the dotted entries with newspaper stories and make sense of something. So Jonathan and Anna were a little nervous about the idea of going through the books and jumping to these dotted entries, but I really don't see a good way to do it. Here's what I think it's going to be. I think it's basically we're going to find a dotted entry in a case and then find the newspaper story that matches that dotted entry, and that'll be a little clue. And when we do all of those for all 10 case booklets, then we'll understand something. And it says, when I heard Lestrade, suspicious death spanning several years, I was thinking we have newspapers from 1885. Start with the first newspaper, look for suspicious deaths. Yes, I think that's right. I think, well, that's what I think we should do anyway. Start with case 1, but I do think we're going to have to find that dotted entry. But we can start with the newspaper. I wouldn't I wouldn't be surprised if we couldn't do it in both directions. Like first find the newspaper, then look up locations corresponding to deaths, and then maybe we'll find the dotted entry. Okay. But we could do it in the reverse order, maybe a little easier first. All right, here's our first case. I think maybe this is going to string it out a little bit more, but maybe we should take this as an opportunity to sort of reminisce about the cases. It's been, actually, this is case 4. It's been a long time since I played these cases. So I think, there's case 4. Let's do it in order now. So before we do that, I think for each case, we're going to do a little bit of reminiscence. So the first case was the Curzon Street kidnapping. Let's remind ourselves how that started. We're summoned to Baker Street from Holmes. Come quickly. Client expected. So our guest comes, a dark-haired woman of middle age. You've read something of me in the newspaper. My name is Wendy Sturton, and a few days ago I was kidnapped, she says. She looks after the children. I was on an errand to obtain some more laudanum from the chemist. Little Duncan was ill with a cough. I'm starting to remember this case a little bit. Turning off Curzon Street, heard a carriage. Suddenly an arm was about me and something over my mouth. I couldn't scream. I was pushed into the carriage and then something over my head I couldn't see. A voice said, "Sorry if that was a little rough. It'll be easier now." I stayed. They kidnap her. She stays overnight. She could smell tobacco. We're just waiting for payment, miss. Then you can go. So they're kidnapping her for a ransom. Then the guy says, they're not going to pay. Let's release her. Taken back into the carriage. And then let go. The problem is, the police have not caught the kidnappers, and I fear they've ceased their search. I've tried to move on, but I cannot. Miss Sturton, before you began this narrative, you suggested something had changed for the worse in the Train household. Could you tell us what that was? She said, I don't think it has anything to do with it. But Duncan has bouts, the mother has bouts of melancholy. Duncan is ill. Okay, so that's the kidnapping they're trying to solve. All right, so the paper for this case, which is 1885 November. Let's look for some suspicious deaths. Sally Train on her house. Well, that's our people. Miss Train had been kind to me. So Sally Train is related to the family of these people in this case that were kidnapping. But we've also got Colonel Vincent Keeley in his 52nd year. So we've got 2 deaths here in the deaths column. One related to our case and one who died a little young. A close-up view a little bit better. Those are 2 deaths. Any other suspicious stuff or suspicious deaths? Trail of the Notting Hill murderer. The trial of Carl Selden, the notorious Notting Hill murderer, Judge Blake. Ferocity and brutality of the murders committed. Said to be interred for life in Princetown Prison, Dartmoor. Then there's a suicide in the park. Reports were made that on a seat a little distance away a man was bleeding from the throat, having caused the injury himself by means of a blade. I can't remember if this is related to our case. I believe it was, but I can't really remember. This was in Hyde Park, this suicide. Then we've got a death of an infant. I think this was related to the mixture that this wife was picking up. I think it was a red herring, but I'm not sure. So I think what's going to happen is, was there a mention of an unsolved murder in the park in the Red River case? Or a mention of unsolved murders in a bunch of the cases. I could look at that, but let me make a suggestion. My suggestion is we try... there are no rules for this case. I can see there's a little bit of feeling that Jonathan and Anna have a little... do not want me to look up in this book what the dotted entry is. But it just seems to me that the reverse way of doing it is not very helpful. We're going to look up a location in here in the book, and if it doesn't have a dotted entry, surely it's not related to us. It would take us 100 hours to to go backwards through each case to find every entry, to find things that might be related, not to the main case, but to some side case. It sort of depends whether you think the rules are the same as when you play a case, that you're not allowed to read the dotted entries, that you're not allowed to go find entries. Got a suicide in the park, murderer being tried, death of an infant. I guess I'll mark this as a possible suspicious death. And then 2 deaths here, one of our mother or matriarch of the family perhaps, and then one of some mysterious person named Vincent Keeley. So try the 2 deaths in the death section first. Okay, so Anna's thinking is, and maybe and Jonathan is, let's look up the dotted entry in this first case book and see if it links to the newspaper like Jesse thinks it will. Okay, so Jonathan is coming around to my theory, but Anna seems to be saying she wants to do it this way. Like first we look up train, household. I'm going to do this quickly, but then I'm going to jump to the dotted entry. So the train entry for Sally, there's a Sally train and a Kenneth train. Okay, Sally train died 75 Southwest. So let's look up 75 Southwest here. Okay, 75 Southwest has an entry, but it's not dotted. So I don't think this is going to be useful for this case 11. It was useful for this current case. Let's see. Can we speak to Miss Train? You're not acquaintances because she's died. I work for her brother who's in charge of the sale of the house. Can we speak to her brother? Unlikely. He keeps this. This is all related to that case. All right, well, let's look up this other one. We're doing it this direction just for now. I think we're going to have to go back to looking directly at the dotted entries. Here was Vincent Keeley, though. Let's just look up Keeley. Keeley, I don't see a Vincent Keeley. I see a Colonel Vincent Keeley at his home on Palace Street. I see a Marion Keeley. That's all I see. 91 Northwest. Keeley. K-E-L. I see. That's different spelling. K-E-E. No entry for him. Okay. There's no Keeley, but paper mentions Palace Street. Well, you could look it up, but we wouldn't have his address. We would just know Palace Street. Unless it's a very short street, which is an interesting idea. All right. But we wouldn't know where to look for Palace Street. Okay, I think Palace Street is near Buckingham Palace. Okay, Buckingham Palace is here. Here's Palace Street. Well, there is only one building on Palace Street. So we could look up 34 Southwest. Well, okay, so there it is. 34 Southwest is our dotted entry that we did find, but let me suggest that, so we found it, but let me suggest that it makes more sense to me that the way we do this is we find the dotted entry first, then we read this. At a grand townhouse on Palace Street, we're informed that Colonel Keeley died of heart failure shortly after the marriage of his only daughter, Ruth. And then we would mark this as being our case 11. And then we would maybe find the newspaper entry corresponding to it. So here is our case 11. So let me just screenshot. I suppose we could do it in either order, but it sort of makes sense to me rather than sort of shooting in the dark in the newspaper, but maybe not. Only daughter Ruth. All right, let me take a screenshot of this first. All right, only daughter Ruth. So Anna's saying, is Ruth married? Is Ruth mentioned in the paper? Well, yes, you're right. There is a marriage of Ruth Keeley here. On the 5th at All Saints Church in Fulham. I guess that's not in London. We can't go there. By the Reverend Fowd. Hugh Stephen Chatting. That name sounds familiar. Hugh Stephen Chatting. MD. There's our doctor. I believe we've got that doctor maybe in our last case. Maybe you're right. Maybe we're not supposed to jump around. I believe Hugh Chatting is mentioned in our most recent case. Can we look up Chatting in the directory? But in what case should we be trying to find him? I don't think he's going to be in this case. Chatting is not in the directory. So we can't find him here, but I think we might find him in our previous case. Okay, but I have to insist now. Chatting's not directed. I have to insist now that we go through this book and look for more dotted entries, because we're not going to exhaustively go through every possible clue in this case to look for dotted entries that don't exist if there's only one in each case book, which is what I would guess. Maybe two. So I'm going to look for any more dotted entries in this case. Okay, so there's no more dotted entries in this case. We found the only one. So I'm going to start a new thing here. Maybe we'll do it on this. So case 1, these are going to be our dotted entries. Case 1 is 34 Southwest, and this is Colonel Keeley dead. Daughter Ruth married. See paper. Okay, if I had to guess, I think this makes sense the way to do it. It makes sense to me that we would read it here and then find it in the paper, and then, though, the clever thing is that the idea that this paper entry corresponds to this paper entry, and then chatting. We should remember these other suicides. So we could now go to book 2 and find the dotted entry, or we could try to track it down more directly. But why do I remember that name? Let me just see. If we go to our current case, our last case, 11, feels to me like we saw that name chatting recently, but where? I'm looking at the last paper we looked at. Are we going to see a woman that's marrying and then the husbands are dying? Final case. I don't see any chatting. That name is very familiar, though. It's got to be in a recent case. I'm not remembering it from case 1. So we're tracking, though, Hugh Stephen chatting. I mean, I suppose I better write that down. Case 1 is Ruth Healy marries Hugh Stephen chatting. All Saints Church by Reverend Peter Fowl, but this is Fulham. I don't believe this is in London. Let me just quickly look up churches. Yeah, there's no All Saints Church here. All right, well, we've found the clue in case. We found the only clue in case 1, the Curzon Street kidnapping, that's related to this case 11. We may need to go back into the newspaper, but we probably don't need to. There's no other clues in that book that are relevant to us besides 34 Southwest. Now the question is, okay, let's look at case 2. All right, now we've got two choices here. Again, we could look up the dotted entry in here, or we could start with the newspaper. I guess I'm okay with doing either. It seems like to me that we should be able to just find the dotted entry, but let's start here at least. If we get stuck, maybe we'll go to the dotted entry. Okay, so we've got one death here. Sarah Elizabeth Blake, wife of Abel Arthur Blake, age 29. So that's a bit young to die. So we could try 79 Southeast to see if that's our death that's suspicious. And we also should be looking for any information on Chatting or Keeley. Any other personal items that are related to people dying or oddness or chatting? I wonder if we're going to have our horse and carriage finally found. Charge of murder. David Hills. I mean, there's some murder, so I'll make a little mark of it. Assault in Regent's Park. Assaulted while walking through Regent's Park, but no one killed. So the one that jumped out at me, there's only the one death. We'll look this up and see if that's a dotted entry. John says, are we sure we're not supposed to search all the papers for a mention of a chatting, then look up the clue in the corresponding clue book? It's certainly possible that we're supposed to find chatting first. The game gives us no guidance on how we're supposed to play this. But well, we're figuring out as we go. But well, I'm going to stick with my plan here to reminisce about the cases. So all right, let's talk about the different ways we could approach this case 11. I'm not sure there's a right way. If Dave Neal was here in the channel, this might be nice time to get from Dave Neal what his thoughts are on the fair way to play this case 11. But we've seen this mention now of Ruth marrying a Hugh Chatting. I think that name is familiar. So we could try to go through all the newspapers looking for a Hugh Chatting and then pursue that lead. My gut tells me that that's not right and that we should just proceed in case order to find the newspaper entries, but I couldn't swear on it. Let me, however, stick to my thing about revisiting the cases just to reminisce. So case 2 was the Mudlark mystery, and this was February 1887, so 2 years after the first one. Remember, one of our Baker Street irregulars is a mudlark. I think it might be Tinker. Let's reminisce about what this was about. I found this tin, he says. This is Tinker, who was mudlarking, searching in the mud for stuff. He finds a tin, and inside the tin, he's holding a human finger. There's the photo of him showing it to Watson, I guess. There's a tattoo on the finger. And then they go trying to solve the case. All right, I'm going to try this one my way. So if I look for dotted entries, I see one. The dotted entry on case 2. We're going to try this my way. Case 2 is 89 Southeast. And says, he was a very agitated fellow. I remember that. The house he was attacking was number 74. I think someone said the owner was a medical man. Aha, so we see doctors. Okay, so the question now is, how would we have gotten to 89 Southeast? Let's look for any more dotted entries first. Okay, so our only dotted entry here is 89 Southeast. So let's write it down. Case 2 is 89 Southeast. Okay, so if we back up, he was an agitated fellow, I remember that. The house he was attacking was number 74. I think someone said the owner was a medical man. So 89 Southeast, attacking number 74. So what article is that about? And it says, okay, death at age 29, looking at these deaths, 79 Southeast. Well, I don't... That's weird. 79 Southeast has no entry. Someone being attacked. Well, here's a 74 High Street bookkeeping. Tuition by a practical man, chartered accountant. This is 74 WC though. That doesn't sound right. We're looking for some sort of attack. Vandalism, is this our case? Jack Whitaker, veterinarian. I remember this being in our case. Someone went down to the next door place. He had caused to lay assault to his neighbor's property, claiming that the lady of the house had insulted him. Her husband had made inappropriate comments to his daughter. Jack Whitaker. But this is at Holborn. Does that mean it's not in London? I remember this thing, Whitaker. Let's see in the channel. It is the vandalism piece. Tafson's daughter and Mr. Martian. I'll just keep looking up more, see if we can find these people. Is there an address listed here, though? I don't see an address. The west end of Bloomsbury Way. Well, I guess since we have a clue that it's at 89 Southeast, can we find Bloomsbury Way at 89 Southeast? So there's 89 Southeast, but no mention of being Bloomsbury Way. The house he was attacking was number 74. Sure seems like it's this vandalism case. Ernest Tafson, a draper, was attacked. So we should find Tafson's house at 74. But he's not in the directory. And it says the eyewitness was this Whitaker, 89 South E. Where do we look up Whitaker? Is his address mentioned somewhere? Where are you getting that this is Whitaker's address? I was hurrying along Bloomsbury Way to attend to an injured horse when I observed the prisoners projecting rocks at a building. The defendant submitted that he had just caused to lay assault to his neighbor's property, claiming that the lady of the house had insulted him and her husband had made inappropriate comments to Mr. Tafson's daughter. So where are we getting the ad in the directory for Whitaker? So you're saying I missed that there's an entry for Whitaker? I see. There is an entry for Jack Whitaker, 89 Southeast. Okay. So this is our case of our case 11, confirmed. Vandalism to damage to property. Mr. Jack Whitaker, veterinarian. Tafson comes and attacks his house. The house he was attacking was 74 Southeast. Okay, and we know this is Jack Whitaker, who lives at 89. And the house he was attacking was 74. And 74 is going to be the house. Whose house is it? Tafson is the attacker. Property on that same street, but we're not told whose property it was. He had caused to lay claim to his neighbor's property, claiming that the lady of the house had insulted him. Mr. Marsham responded that even if such events had occurred, they were not justification for the safety of his neighbors on Bloomsbury Way. So it seems to me we need to find out who lives at 74 Bloomsbury Way. Who lives at 74 Bloomsbury? And that might not even be in today's paper, right? Chatting is mentioned, Jonathan says, in case 4. Lady of the house had insulted him, and her husband had made inappropriate comments to Mr. Towson's daughter. Okay, so the question of who lives at 74 Bloomsbury Way, Jonathan says chatting was mentioned in newspaper 4, so I wonder if that's going to be tracking down his address. All right. I think this makes some sense, but why would this be murders over the years having to do with something? All right, I think we should proceed in this order, though. Well, let's take a little break. You guys are looking on your own. Let's take an 8-minute break, and we'll come back and make a final decision about whether we're supposed to be jumping around or going case by case. Might have our first disagreement on how to proceed here, but I'll see you in 8 minutes. Okay, we're back. You're watching Co-op for Two. We are playing the secret bonus hidden case 11. We've decided the compromise way we're going to continue playing this case. We're going to go sequentially through the cases. We've been through case 1, case 2. We're going to start with the newspaper for that case. We're going to see if we can't figure out organically from the newspaper what clue to look at. If we run into some trouble, then we will reserve the right to go through the casebook, look directly for the dotted entry, and then work backwards from there to find what article in the newspaper it's about. Jonathan says, remind me on case 2, the last one we did, what was the connection? Anna says, Tafson was attacking Chatting's house because of his daughter. Chatting made inappropriate comments and his wife was rude. That's right. I think that's the summary, and we're going to actually screenshot that entry. It was 89 Southeast. I want to get a record of this. So there's the newspaper article and the dotted entry. So I'm going to screenshot this so we have them all at the end. So, yes, this was actually a kind of a cool thing because 89 Southeast is the address of Jack Whitaker, who's giving testimony that his neighbor's house was attacked. And the neighbor's house is number 74, he says here, which we don't know who lives there, but we suspect that at some point we're going to be told that Hugh Chatting lives there. We don't know that already, right? Because he's not in the directory, and at the marriage, we're not told their address. But we suspect we're going to be given their address later. Okay, so that was our case 2. No other dotted entries, so case 2 is done. Now we're going to proceed to case 3, the 3 customers. Going to remind us a little reminiscing of what the 3 customers case was all about. If I can remember. Top secret government document that got lost. That's what it was. It must be recovered. So this was a document that got lost. It was Mycroft's maybe involved. And we had to trace who stole it. That was the 3 customers case. Okay, so where's our newspaper for the 3 customers? So we're going to start with the newspaper. We're going to see if anything jumps out at us, either about Hugh Chatting, his wife, 74 Bloomsbury Way, the address that was attacked, or maybe even the attacker from the previous case, Tafson. We'll start, however, with suspicious deaths. Oh, look who was just killed. We got it. Look. And Anna says in the first paper, there's a clue too here. Look what's happened in the 3rd case, though. Tafson just got killed. Ernest Tafson, age 62, was killed. And Anna says in the first paper, miscellaneous, which was our Curzon kidnapping. Miscellaneous, let's see. Look at this. Look what Anna found. In our first case, to be sold at the price of 4,000 guineas, a bright house, number 74 Bloomsbury Way, with gardens, early English mantels and stoves, all modern improvements, 4 bed and dressing rooms, applied to Messrs. Joan Pitch and Company, 42 Southeast. Okay, so I don't think any of that's important. This is just our little tease that new people are moving in. Probably they got married, Chatting got married. This is the house they bought, I'm guessing. Okay, so let's put this back. And now in today's paper, they've killed Tafson. If you'll remember, Tafson is not the witness. Tafson is the person who was attacking the house because he says that the people at 74 were insulting, saying inappropriate things to his daughter. So they've gone and killed. So this is going to be a murderous couple is what I think it is going to be, who are killing everyone who insults them or gets on their wrong side. I'm just going to make another screenshot of this entry here about that Anna just found about 74. Okay, pretty cool. Anna says, yes, Tafson was the neighbor of Chatting, so next to 74 Bloomsbury. All right, so actually, maybe we can mark on our map. Southeast, 74, here's... It was southeast, right? Where's Bloomsbury Road, though? Am I misremembering? 89 southeast. But why is 74? Why is there no Bloomsbury Road here? What am I missing? The house for sale, 74 Bloomsbury Road, or Bloomsbury Way. What am I missing? Why is it not here? Is it just not on the map? Let's see what Anna says. No, it's WC. Southeast was the witness of the... Oh, he was not at home. Okay. So the witness lives there, but when he witnessed it, he wasn't at home. All right. Okay, so there's our 74 Bloomsbury Way in WC. Somehow I got confused by the paper. Our witness was at 89 Southeast, but all this is happening at 74 WC. Okay, fair enough. All right, let's return to our... Let's refer to our case. So Ernest Tavson, who's a neighbor on Bloomsbury Way, maybe at 11 Bloomsbury Way, he's killed. He's just been killed. So case 3. Tavson killed. Now, do we have Tavson in the directory? I thought I looked it up and didn't find it, but then I've made mistakes before. Don't see any Tafson. We know he's a tailor, though, from our previous case, from our previous news report, I believe. The witness was hurrying along Bloomsbury Way to take care of a horse. That's why he doesn't live there. Lady of the house. I wonder if they're going to kill the wife too. Ernest Tafson, a draper. So it's theoretically possible we'd be able to look up his house by looking up draperies. But let's see if there's anything else in the paper that jumps out at us. We're looking for this address or Hugh Chatting. or murders. I mean, there's our suspicious murder of this case, it looks like. But what else? Anything else happening at that house? Train stations. Look at this case. What about this? Carlton Wansdale. Depraved moral character. Carlton Wansdale. Or Nick Collins. Traveled to London on September 11th. So we're in 1887. I guess our first case is in 2 years ago, so I guess it's probably not going to be our guy pretending to be chatting. Well, okay, so if we're wondering where the neighbor is, it could be 37, 75, or 11. Okay, let's look up in our book, in our case 3, if any of those are dotted entries. So WC, we're now going to look up the neighbors in WC. So we said 11, 75, or 37. Okay, well, 11 isn't in here. 35 isn't in here. 77 isn't in here. Okay, so it's none of the neighbors in this book, which we were hoping to find Ernest Tafson. Is it possible that he's killed someone else? We've got 2 other people here. One was age 22 in a tragic accident, John Openshaw. But he's of Horsham, so that means it's not going to be London, right? So I don't think that's going to be us. Okay, so remember how we said we're going to do, not 35, 37. There is a 37. Okay, so I'm not doing as well as I should be doing here. So Anna says there is a 37 WC. Okay, there is a 37 WC and it is dotted. So this is going to be Tafson's house. There's no one home at number 37, but we speak to a neighbor who remembers Ernest's death. Apparently his heart just gave out suddenly. Okay, here's another big clue. So his heart gave out suddenly, and if you'll remember in case 1, the colonel died through a heart thing, and Anna was saying, you couldn't, it's not faked. He didn't get murdered, did he? But this guy knows how to poison people. He's a doctor, that's why. Okay, so let us take a screenshot of our related stories in case 3. So what we've got here is our Hugh chatting, the doctor is killing people, making it look like heart problems. So let's take a screenshot of this. Okay. All right, so we've got our cases. So now we're going to look through this book and look and make sure there are no more dotted entries. That's the one we found. And that's it. Okay, 37WC was our entry there. Tafson dead. Okay, so he's killed Tafson, and now if he's either going to kill his wife or move on to a completely different thing. But it does look like our Hugh chatting, the doctor, is killing people by making their heart go off. All right, case 4 we're up to. 1 clue per book, yeah. All right, case 4. Let's remind ourselves what this case was about. It's called The Promise. This was the one with a little bit of a flashback. This was the book. We squeeze into the front room. Wiggins filled us in on his relationship with the very eccentric Sal Brock. She used to know my mother. When my dad died, my mom had little money. She took me to the orphanage. She would come back for me when she got money. So I was sleeping on the street. This is the story of Wiggins. Sal tracked me down. The problem I have, she assigns, that's right, she brings us a case. She brings a case to Wiggins, who she had a personal relationship with. She wants us to find her edition of Culpepper's Complete Herbal Remedies, which she lent out. But then we also find an envelope on her side table that seems to be related to us. Okay, so it was a little backstory about Wiggins. Okay, let us now look at the paper. So we're looking for anything near where they live at 74, or mentioning their name, marriages, deaths, let's see. Louisa Apperly. Whoop, Bloomsbury Way. That's it, he just killed off the wife. He just killed the wife. Wow, that's brutal. Ruth Chat. Oh, it's his wife he killed. He killed his wife. Ruth Chatting. He killed his wife. No, I thought he was killing Tafson's wife who insulted him. But look. What's going on here? Miss Tafson, you are forever in my mind. Ah, this is Chatting. Hugh Chatting. Yes. Yes. He wants the daughter. Seek me at my home. Okay, so he kills his wife and he's left a personal for the daughter. All right, let's just make sure there's nothing else in here. Hospital porter. Robbery. All right. Well, let's look up these two places. Either his house at 74 Bloomsbury, or maybe even the Tafson house. We know where that is now. 37. So let's look up 37WC or 74WC and see if they're in here. So there's no 37WC, but let's see if she went to his house at 74. Yeah, there it is. So 74WC is our case 11 clue. Number 74 is a grand house that must be worth a considerable sum. Remember, we saw it purchased in the first case. No one is home, but through the window we can see some anatomy books, syringes, and similar medical items. So this is Dr. Hugh Chatting's office, home office. All right, let's take a snapshot of these case 11 details. Okay. All right, and now let's quickly check that there's not any other dotted entries in this case book that we should be reading. So far, it's been one clue per clue book. Okay. Okay, that was case 4. And now, should we... If we look up doctors, he's not in the doctors, is he? No, Dr. Hugh chatting. Okay, just making sure. All right, case 5. This gets us to our modern series of cases that were all connected, that we've had some little more familiarity with. The Red River Valley case is the case with the telegram. This is the detective from America, and then the people got kidnapped and killed and tortured trying to find the detective undercover woman. Okay, let's take a look at this paper. We'll start at deaths, maybe. Edith Corona died at 80, no big deal. Leonardo's sale of Queen's Park, that's off the map. Those don't seem related. Well, look, here's another entry from Hugh chatting, leaving another personal. LT, which is the daughter, right? Tafson, please reconsider. Seek me at my home. So it sounds like maybe we're going to be going again to the home at 74. But let's see if there's anything else. Gentleman's cane. These were all things we remember from this case. So we're looking for chatting, or we're looking for Tafson. Do we know what the daughter's name was? Was it Lucy Tafson or some? We know it's L Tafson. We know the daughter. Case 5. What was the? It was 74 WC was the clue in the previous case. Let me just write it down. Yeah, 74 WC. Okay, so he wants the daughter to reconsider. So she went and visited him and she didn't agree. John says, I don't think so, because you think you tried to look up on a previous case where we bump into a clue and we couldn't find chatting. That's who Jonathan's talking about. Okay. I suspect it's just come see me at my home. I think he's going to have killed her in the home again. But let's see. 2 bodies were discovered in an alley. That's related to this case, not to our side case. Peter Earl Hughes has died. Who died on the 18th of January this year. That's not our guy, though. Sir Edgar Setupon, that's related to a previous case. The fish, that's a previous case, or side case. Okay, I think it's just this one. Back at his home again. If we don't find it there, we might check out the cane that was found. It sounds like, though, that it's just his house again. So let's look up his house, which was 74 WC. Okay, 74WC is not in the book. So it's the plot thickens a bit. Let's look for something else, another death, or something that would track us to the daughter. Is the daughter leaving? Is she doing something else? Interesting. Do we know where the Tafsons live? 37 WC. I wonder, 37 or 74. Did I look up both of them? Let me see. There's no 30. There's no 37, and there's no 74. Interesting. So we checked the Tafson house and Hugh Chatting's house. Didn't find anyone. Well, then where is it? What about something that a doctor would be doing? Did he kill this? This guy died in 18 of January, 94 EC. Let's see if he might have killed this guy. Oh, that's the solicitors. Peter Earl Hughes of Kensington, London. Let's just look up if the solicitors happen to be the ones that have information. No. What about Earl Hughes' house itself? No. What other case in here? She didn't get married to someone else, did she? We could see if this 80-year-old woman on Liverpool Street, we could see if Liverpool Street is right next door to... Edith Cross. Well, let me just look her up. Anyone dead he could be killing off to get their money. So let's see. KHU is her name. Okay, she's not in the directory. Anything from the chat? This does have the found gentleman's cane. Any way to use that? Let's go there. Henry Ellis, about his personal ad. So that's an interesting thing. We tried to find that cane for a while and we couldn't. So this one says if the cane was found, go to the Times office. So the Times office is 30 EC. So 30 EC is it. Okay, so 30 EC is the... Anna seems to be getting these very quickly. 30 EC is our case 11. It just says Henry Ellis is busy and unable to speak to us, but we can ask about specific entries. So if we ask about the entry saying starting found in the park, a lady brought the cane in on Saturday, a Miss Ellie's, I believe. Okay, Miss Ellie's. So this was at 30 EC is the cane. Miss Ellie's. All right. Miss Ellie's brought it in. So let's look up Miss Ellie's or see if... Take a screenshot of this. Or see if Miss Ellie's is in the paper somehow. I don't see a Miss Ellie's. Ellies. Is she in the paper though? Kind of sounds familiar. Well, that might be all we're meant to find here. We might hear about Miss Ellie's in the next case. There's an LT below. Read that one. Oh, did I not? Oh, I see. That's weird. Oh, LT, please reconsider. I see. Good catch. I remember the gentleman who placed that message. He had placed messages with us more than once, I believe. A man with well-groomed mustache and broad shoulders. Well, we've heard that in some other case as well. That a bad person had broad shoulders and a well-groomed mustache. Taking a screenshot of this. Okay, so this was the entry in the paper that our guy left. We might want to even check in our previous papers to see if an HC left a note that we missed previously. All right, so both of these were case 11. In fact, let me take another screenshot with it and view. Okay, so I think we found our entries in this case. Now we have a description of him, broad-shouldered. What was it? Broad-shouldered, well-groomed mustache. Okay, that was in case 5. Let's make sure there's no more dotted entries. No, that's it. Okay. All right. Case 6. The busker of Bridge Street. This is where we meet Daisy and Dodger. Let's see what we've got here. John Stowing. Let's see if he's places any more ads. All right, I don't see any more ads. Marriages. No. Births? No. No ads. Oh, he's going quiet. I've forgotten. Oh, Dave Neal has stopped by. Okay, good. Let's catch up here. Dave Neal says, saw your BG. So I messaged Dave Neal. I said, we were trying to get a feel for whether it's kosher to restart in the books or start in the newspaper. Dave Neal says, you can do what you like, but if you want to challenge, only turn to casebook entries when you have a reason to. which is what we're doing. Okay, good. All right, so that's basically what we're doing. What we've decided is we're gonna do them sequentially. Start with the newspaper, try to back from the newspaper to the entry. If we really get lost and can't find it, then we'll go through here. Okay, so I wanted to remind myself, I've already forgotten why we are associating him with the cane. A lady brought the cane in on Saturday, a Miss Ellie's, I believe. Okay, so we don't know if the cane is related to him, but we're suspicious. So we're looking for, now we've added a Miss Ellie's to our list of people to look out for. All right, deaths. I mean, we can visit this person. Camden Town, John Stowling. He's 71 though. Age 67. So these are two people. We have no reason to think on first glance they're related, but we could look them up to see if they died of heart failure and had a doctor, Hugh Chatting. We don't see any more personal ads by Hugh Chatting. Some jewel thief. Chess champion. Doesn't look like our guy. Share price fall. This was related to one of our cases. Here was my favorite case, the missing cart, horse and cart. That we never found any reason about. Shipping. Remains. 2 letters to the editor about the children's charter. These aren't our people. Another letter to the editor about the guilt of Mr. Ash. We don't know anything about that. Palace Annex. Scutling. Family safe from the fire. Miss Baker. Don't know anything about that. Auction of furniture at the Adderson Hotel in Islington. That's not related to us. All right, I don't see anything that jumps out, so let us look up these 2 deaths. I do remember we see a photo in someone's office with a picture of a doctor, and it may have even been related to Werner. Can't completely be sure, but let's see if we can find these people. John Stowling. Okay, no John Stowling. Can't find him. Charles Langham Deere. Okay, so he's not in the paper. I mean, he's not in the directory. I wonder if it wasn't one of these places where we saw the painting in the doctor's office. I'm going to quickly look at the Bird Place 9 Northwest. I think that was in a later case, though. It's not in that one. Oh, there's a Tafson. There's Lillian Tafson. There it is. Marriages. And I already found it. Okay. So Dave Neal is just confirming that the approaches we're taking is the way finding threads in the newspaper, working out where to go is the most interesting and organic thematic way, and that's what we're doing. Okay, so on the 12th of June at St. George Church, Hanover Square, by the Reverend Charles Astley, Malcolm Justy to Lillian Tafson. Okay, we can see where this is going, can't we? The woman he loves has just gotten married at St. George's Church in Hanover Square. I think we know where that is. I think that's down... Oh, that's Cavendish Square. All right, well, let's look up St. George's Church or Hanover Square. St. George's at 81 Northwest. We haven't been placing dots on our map, but we can just go to it. 81 Northwest. There it is right there. We had some people living in there that we visited. Put it there. Okay, 81 Northwest. And indeed, that is the dotted entry. Case 11. Case 11. Okay, let's read it. It says, we asked the Reverend Astley about the wedding. That was a lovely wedding, he says with a smile, and then frowns. Except for one small incident. There was a man who entered and stood at the back for a brief time. A broad fellow with a mustache. He was not a guest, and he just stared at the poor couple, his demeanor one of anger or contempt. Luckily, I do not think they noticed him. Here's our broad fellow with the mustache. Here's our doctor. And he is going to be murdering one or both of these married couple very soon. Let's take a photo for our records. Okay, I think that's probably going to be the only entry here, but let's see what we've got. Let's make sure there's no more dotted entries. Okay, so that's case 6, where we met Daisy and Dodger. It's time for Tiger's Eye, one of my favorite cases. This is the woman who disappeared at dinner when she was given the jewelry. Let's see what we've got. Let's see if any of them... There we go. Right there it is. Sorry. Deaths. On the 21st of this month, at her home in London, Miss Lillian Justy. Lillian married a Justy. That's her new last name, and she just got killed. Wow. So, in case 6, let me just write down. Case 6, it was 81 Northwest. And then in the paper, she married Malcolm Justy. Okay, so she's married, she changed her name, and she just got killed off at her home in London. So now where is her home? Can we look up Justy? Oh, look at this. Do you see this one? Remember this painting of the broad-shouldered man who waited at the corner of Mortimer and Great Portland? I wonder if that's where their house is going to be, and we can find him there. We checked this several times. We couldn't find an entry for it. But I suppose we should go to Mortimer and Great. We were going to where this guy who painted him lived. But I think now we're meant to figure out that he was waiting outside her house or something. And we should find Mortimer in Great Portland. That's pretty cool. Okay, let's look up Justy and then let's find that place at that corner. Okay, so there is a Malcolm Justy. He's at 86 Northwest. So this is case 7. Justy 87 Northwest. Is that what I said? Or 86? 86 Northwest. Okay, so is 86 Northwest going to be the corner where he was painted? So 86 Northwest is where the Justies live, right there. Okay. And we're told by this article he was standing outside for an hour on Mortimer and Great Portland. Well, there's Great Portland. And there's Mortimer right there. So he was, in fact, sitting outside the Justy household for an hour, waiting to run into her, to poison her or something. So that's the clue, that he was seen there at her house. Let's go to the house, which is 86 Northwest. John says, I think there might be an entry. It just did not relate to our current case. We got confused. I believe we just did not follow this up. Jonathan is saying, is there an entry for this guy? Here's my memory, that we could never find this guy, but we actually were careless because he is at 85 Great Portland Street. That's where you would go to talk to him about the guy who did the painting. But Mortimer in Great Portland is actually pointing to 86, or I guess his neighboring place. Well, we're going to look it up. We're going to look up 85 Northwest and any place near it. All right, so you can see there is no 85 Northwest. That was the guy who did the painting. But there is an 86 Northwest. I'm fairly certain we've never read this. But there's our dot. The black silk and white ribbon on the door indicate a house in mourning. A maid tells us the lady of the house died suddenly when she was home alone. They said it was natural causes, she tells us, and that sometimes that can happen. But bless her, she was so young. Okay, so there's our case there. Let's take a screenshot. So he followed her home, or he went to her house and killed her. This guy is dangerous. All right, let's quickly see. Maybe Anna says, so the doctor was waiting at the house, maybe for the husband to leave, went in and murdered her. Yep, but there was an eyewitness who saw him. Is this man blackmailing the doctor? I have a different idea. I'll bet he's gonna kill that witness. But I think I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't kill that painter. Let's just make sure there's no more entries, because he's run out of people to kill, but he may very well want to kill this witness. Okay. That was the only entry in there. Now we move to case 8. Heist in Harp Lane, another one of my favorite cases, where the cart was brought into the alley and robbed. All right, let's see. Let's see what we got. We're going to start right at deaths, and there it is. Look at this. Okay. On the 24th, Miss Pearl Stanbury of 85 Great Portland Street, on the 60th year of her life. So there you go. Anna says, yes, why did the witness place the ad? I think the witness is just a painter. So here's the connection. Someone painted a painting that says, to the broad-shouldered man with the excellent mustache and black umbrella who waited at the corner for an hour, I took the liberty of painting you, and it would be my pleasure to show you the results. So I think it might just be a painter trying to, make connections with someone. Maybe she's going to meet a handsome man. Maybe she wants to date him. Maybe she wants to sell it to him. I don't think she knew that he murdered anyone. But you could be right. It could be blackmail. Either way, he's gone and killed her. Miss Pearl Stanbury. And there's her address, 85 Great Portland. Who's he got left to kill? All right, any other entries here that look like they're related to us? He's got no one left to kill. He could kill the husband, Malcolm Justy. Any other deaths? Any other entries in the personals? Lace, there's our gold, robbery, Docker strike, international child drowned. Mishap. All right, well, I think that's going to be it. So let's go to 85 Portland and see if there's anything else. So that's 85 Northwest. '85 Northwest is indeed our dotted entry. Number 85 is dark and there's no sign of anyone. Peering through a window, we can see an easel and some art materials growing dusty. Yeah, that's exactly what we thought. So case 8 was 85 Northwest. So not much going on in this case. We'll double check if there's anything else, but before that, I'll take a screenshot. All right, let's make sure there's no other dotted entries in this one. Nope, that's it. Okay, so he killed the person who witnessed him. What's next for this guy? All right. Case 9, the dog in the nighttime. This was Daisy who got kidnapped and Dodger who helped rescue her. Let us see what's in our paper. We'll go start right at deaths. Tobias Brady, 71. Drowned at sea. Doesn't seem likely. Martin Peacock. All right, well, those don't jump out at us. Oh, but look what we've got here. In the personals, Dr. Hugh Chatting announces new premises at 4 Sidmouth Street. Okay, so there's our Hugh Chatting. So we can maybe visit his office. 4 Sidmouth Street is near a place in Sherlock Holmes' previous case lore history that's kind of important. This is his address, yes. All right. Should we see if there's anything else that he's up to? Still surprised he hasn't killed the husband who stole away his wife. Stole away William. All right, let's look up his place at 4 7th Street, WC. So 4WC. Okay, well, there's our dotted entry. This is our case 11. We arrived towards the end of the day, and there's no answer to our knocking. Through a window, we can see a waiting room and a painting of a broad-shouldered man with a large, neat mustache hanging on the wall. So there's our painting that I remembered of him. Broad-shouldered man with a large mustache. Okay, so we found his house. And maybe that's all we're meant to do in case 9. Maybe case 10 we can actually go arrest him, you think? John says, this is one where we go to the office. We could go, but we didn't have any clues. Okay, let's just make sure there's no more dotted entries here. I don't see any. I guess we're going to go arrest him now in case 10 is what I think. All right, let's just get a screenshot of this for posterity. Okay, that's it. Here we go. This is the finale. See if we're going to be able to catch him. All right, case 10, death of a detective. Epic final case we played last week. I won't recap it other to say that Sherlock Holmes disappeared and we rescued the day. All right, let's see what we've got. So hopefully no one's dead here. All right. A doctor was killed. I wonder if our guy's killing off his competition now. It could be that we just go to his house now and we'll arrest him. Jonathan says maybe a good time to take a break before the finale. Okay, let's do that. Let's take a 5-minute, not 8-minute, 5-minute break before we read this final one. I'm thinking maybe we just go to his house now and we'll arrest him. But we're going to take a 5-minute break first, and we'll come back and we'll do the finale. Okay, we're back. We're about to finish up this hidden secret bonus case 11. We're on the final day, September 12th, 1889, the day of our final case. We think maybe we can go to his house to arrest him, and or he's killed another doctor for some reason. We don't know. But it does sound like this guy has died in a way that's compatible with the way our Dr. Chatting has been killing people. Dr. L.P. Richards. Okay, so can we find Dr. L.P. Richards at his home? He died. Let's see. Richards. Dr. Richards, 83 WC. So, 83 WC. Let's see if that's indeed an entry. Okay, there's our dotted entry. We're told by Dr. Richards' wife that he was found dead in his office chair one morning, the cause apparently being a heart attack. She says, he had been very stressed recently. He said he might lose some of his patients because of a new doctor had opened a practice nearby. So there we go. So our guy Hugh Chatting opens a practice, kills off his competition. Now that could be the end of it. That just could be the last case. But doesn't it seem like we should find an entry? We should try to find where he opened his practice. We could go to his house. I mean, that could be it, right? That could be it. I suppose I'll take a screenshot. Or we could go to his house, or we could find his practice. Maybe that was the practice we found. Or 83 WC. Okay, well that wouldn't be... Well, let's take a screenshot. All right, someone remind me. That could be it. That could be the end of our case 11. But we could go, and Jonathan reminds me, that's where we went last case, to the practice. Okay, so 85 Northwest is where the practice is. 85 Northwest. And I wonder if, before we look it up, let's just look up. We went to Dr. L.P. Richards at his home. If we go to his office, let's see if we can find, his office is at, well, his office is at 83 WC. I guess that just listed his home. Okay, so let's go to Hugh Chatting's place and see if we can arrest him. It's 85 Northwest. Okay, there's no entry for 85 Northwest. You know what? I don't think I wrote down where we went to his office. What was the actual address? Chatting's practice was in the last paper, 4WC. I didn't write that down. 4WC. Okay, that makes more sense. Well, before we go to it, let's mark it on our map. So 4WC was his practice. Right there. Okay, so we're going to... And Jonathan says, anything in the clues in the upside down part of the book? That's an interesting idea. Let's go to 4WC first. Okay, so there's no 4WC. There's no 4WC in the main thing. We might not be able to find it. I mean, we might not be able to do anything. Okay, I don't see anything in the back of the book that's 4WC. And in the main section... We still got his house though, right? We could still maybe try going to his house. So there's no 4WC. Where did he live? 74. 74 is where he lived, right? What about 74? Can we catch him at his house? No 74 WC. I mean, we should we should keep in mind that we don't necessarily know that we can find him, although you'd think that we would want some satisfaction of finding him. Anything else in the newspaper? In the newspaper for anything else that might have to do with chatting. We could try to go to Lestrade again. Sort of depends whether you think that there's something more to do. And it says, so how do we solve this case? Is there a solution for it? There was more than one special passage in case 10 because it had the first clue with Lestrade, so there could be more. All right, let's take a quick glance and see if there's any more dotted entries. So we know there's one dotted entry where the doctor was killed, which was 83 WC. Let's see if there's any more. Oh, and then there was the Lestrade entry. Maybe we should reread that. Okay, so at the Lestrade, where have you been investigating? Seems like nonsense to me. So there's our two entries. The one that started the case, and then the one where we just went to the guy who got killed by his competition. So now we're looking if there's any other dots. If there's not, then I guess we're done. If there is, then there's something else to find. That looks like it, guys. I think that's it. And just looking in these, but we read all these, I believe. So I think that's it. I think that's it. I think our last clue tracked us down to confirm if there was any doubts about who the doctor is. Just double checking, no more dotted. If Dave Neal is here, he can tell us if we're right, that that's it and we're done. I don't see any more dotted entries. He's come and killed his competition. I suppose maybe it would have been dangerous to put a solution paragraph in here, because then if you read it, you'd get the answer. So I think that's it. I mean, we've identified him, we found him, and now we would go back to Lestrade and say, hey, you got to go arrest Hugh Chatting. Anything else in the paper? Some sort of ironic twist where something happened to him. That's a nice idea. That would be a nice way to end it if Hugh Chatting was killed off on his own. I don't see it though. I think that's it. That's still pretty cool. All right, I'm going to assume, I think that's it. Are we all in agreement that that must be it? There's no more dotted entries. There doesn't appear to be any extra finale at the end that we didn't read. I think I went through all the flip over the book endings. I think that's it. The Chatting should have been the one who was killed in the fall. It would have been interesting if he got killed. But I think we're just going to go and turn him in when Holmes gets back. Or maybe Dave Neal will fill us in that we've missed something in the paper. Okay, let's have a quick talk about this last case in the box. First of all, it's amazing that there's more in this box past case 10. I mean, it's a luxurious, I don't know what you would call it. The abundance of stuff in this box is shocking. And it's very fun that there's this hidden case, like an Easter egg. Anna says, I agree. I don't think if I had been playing this myself, I do not think I would have found this case. I would have just said, well, that's a weird way to end it. John says, now we take the third letter from every word in the dotted clues and get the epilogue. Just kidding. Boy, that's an interesting... Do we need to consider doing something with the third letters? I wish Dave Neal was here to tell us, that's it, guys, stop. I guess we could look at the first one and just convince ourselves that it's not related. I printed them all out, so it's easy to look at it, but let's just see if we can find it here. What didn't write down. I didn't write down the first one. That's a shame. Oh, I did write it down here. 34 Southwest. So let's just look at the third letters and the third words. Third word here would be grand, palace, R, colonel of. Grand, palace, R, colonel of, shortly, marriage. Okay, so it's not that. If you took the third letter, that would be crazy. A. Yeah, no, it's not that. All right. We should be satisfied with what we've got here. So first of all, there's something nice about it having us go through all of the other cases very briefly and go through the newspapers. And the idea that something was hidden in plain sight while we were playing these 10 cases is really quite fun. And fun to have these little stories in the newspaper. Some more of them make sense. And not as, like, I feared that if we tried to go from the newspaper to the books, that we would just be searching for needles in haystacks. But the fact that it was structured as unusual deaths, so we almost always went to the death section, and it was fun to unravel this mystery of who's getting killed and why, and it wasn't that hard to connect the dots, and there were sort of fun dots to connect. It would have been nice if we could arrest him in the end, but I can see why you wouldn't do that. Really quite fun. Extra little story hidden in plain sight. Pretty cool. I'm glad Anna picked up that there was a hidden case in here. Very easy to miss. And it was interesting that we actually, most of the clues that we read to help us solve this one, we didn't notice anything odd about them. But that there were a couple of ones, like seeing the empty doctor's office with the picture on the wall, that jumped out at us as being strange, and it's nice to see it wrapped up and making sense. John says, one last try would be the third word of each dotted clue. I think that's what the third word, you mean just one word from each clue? Did I screenshot this one? 83WC. You could imagine that it would be the third word of each thing. The third word of this WC, which would be the last one, is told. And then southwest, is the third word going to be Lestrade? Because then maybe. One, two, three. The third word of the 221 clue is the word says. And the third word of the 83 clue is told. So I don't think there's any way to have a reasonable ending sentence that ends in the word says or told. Could this doctor be Moriarty in disguise? Well, it could be, but this guy does not sound like Moriarty, a mastermind, does he? He sounds like he's a doctor who's desperate to get this woman Lillian. And so he's killing people for personal reasons in London in his doctor's practice. So I don't think that's Moriarty. It's just a little Easter egg. Pretty fun, though, to have something extra to do. And I think really fun going through the newspapers. And I am glad we did it the way you guys said, which is, I'm glad we didn't do what I suggested, which is to just go through the books and snap each dotted clue and then put them together. I think that might have been a little too easy and less enjoyable. So I think you're right. You guys were right that we should start with the Easter eggs and we track them to each case. So I would recommend that if someone was doing it themselves, I would recommend going in order through the cases, just get the newspaper of each case and try to track down the dotted entry related to it. All right, now I have to figure out a way to review this box of cases without setting expectations too high, which is going to be a little difficult since this was such an amazing box of cases. It was a joy to play those with you guys. John says, I do think maybe there could have been some red instructions with the first clue, with the R gate you get from the telegram. So in other words, we're critiquing this bonus case. Jonathan is saying it might have been nice to give some instructions. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's hard to know if we hadn't already spotted the dotted items. Would we have known? If you had to pick some instructions, it might be something like start at case 1 and connect the dots. Maybe something ambiguous like that. Start at case 1 and connect the dots just to give someone a suggestion of the best way to enjoy it. But I guess you could have gone backwards too, right? If you had gone backwards and started with him killing his competitor, would it have been, could you have gone backwards and might it be just as fun? I wonder. I think it would be hard to go backwards, actually, because you're looking up Lily and Justy. You don't know that she changed her name till the previous case going forward made more sense. Yeah. All right. A real joy, this box. We have to decide what game to play next. We are interleaving the play-by-mail cases. We'll play another 2 of those next week. But we do have to decide what mystery game to play, what main mystery game to play next. I think we were talking about maybe Ellery Queen returning to New York to try the Ellery Queen game. We could try more Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective fan cases, although I think it might behoove us to take a break from Sherlock Holmes for a bit just to appreciate how good this was. Otherwise, we may be disappointed. All right, any last words from Jonathan or Anna before we sign off? Ellery Queen is set in the 20s or to 40s, somewhere in that range. 20s, 30s, or 40s. We should thank Dave Neal for the experience, amazing experience. As a box, as a sort of bang for your buck, it's hard to beat this box. All right, let's sign off. I'll see you next week. We'll play Ellery Queen, it looks like, maybe. The play-by-mail games. I'm interested in the LA Noire play-by-mail, the Sherlock Holmes one. What we're getting there. All right. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.